one of the most woke moments that I have seen in most recent time is when Miss Kira,
Khiara.
Khiara Bridges
Hmm.
sat
Oh,
down and had to deal with
oh,
Josh Hawley. We have that clip. We want to talk about this because we talk about this here, right?
yeah,
She hasn't
yeah.
said anything that we haven't already talked about because we are gender warriors. We know what's up. We are woke. But let's see what she had to say, and we're going to come back and talk about this.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning?
Because,
so we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Are you?
Are you? Well, see, in our community, we use the term read, right?
Yes.
But the thing about a read is, it's not considered a read if it's true.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You only read you if it's she let him have it.
And she went hard, right? She did go hard.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that she was able to sort of start the conversation about there being sex.
Yeah.
Which has to deal sex terms, which deals with body parts, and gender, which is how you show up in the world, and talking about men and women opens you up to certain types of conversations, and talking about sex opens you up to different kinds. And she really did start that, and I'm happy about that because some other people need to learn.
Well, there was another conversation sort of, on the same or on the same topic.
Yes.
Where on last Monday, Macy Gray was interviewed by Piers Morgan, and she discussed the confusing state of gender identity while referencing the whole he, she, they pronoun usage. Though she said, that she shared Morgan's stance on supporting trans rights for fairness and equality, she also agreed with the view that trans women born to obviously superior physical bodies should be prohibited from competing against cis women in sports.
There's a lot to unpack with what Macy said. First of all, when she was talking about sex and women, he said, well, what's a woman? She goes, well, they have a hoo-hoo and tatas. And he was like, well, what about people who get operations? And she goes, well, then it's more about this and this. It's like, well, honey, well, which is it? So she needs to take a seat and we can all talk about what gender is. And then her thing about trans athletes, it's as if there are not athletes as big as Brittany Griner. Like, she's a tall person. Like, would someone say that she couldn't join the swim team because she's too tall?
Right.
So it's transphobia still, because they're still not accepting the fact that women come in different types, different shapes, and we just have to accept and deal with the fact that sports are sports.
Well, she and I'm gonna get off of Macy's boat, but she said something that I just thought was just so ridiculous. And yes, it came from her mouth and it was her opinion. But she said, but as a woman, just because you go change your parts doesn't make you a woman. And she said, sorry about that. And she said, if you want me to call you a her, I will, because that's what you want. But that doesn't make you a woman just because I call you a her and just because you got a surgery. I thought all of that could have been left out. She didn't. I was offended by her saying that.
This is the thing about people assuming that the only thing that makes you a woman is being a female at birth. Right? I mean, a woman, that is a gender term.
Right.
We recognize that people become women, even females become women. We have language that supports that. You know, there are ceremonies that support that. So when she said it was about body parts, and he says, well, what about surgery? Then she says, oh, no. It's about something else. It's like, well, what else is it about? Is it about having people scrutinize your appearance? Because trans women get that. Is it about not being able to find jobs and being paid less? Because trans women get that. Is it about the likelihood that you're going to be murdered or abused by your male partner? Trans women experience that. So, I mean, if we're going to really, let's sit down and figure out as a society, and it is a societal thing that says what a woman is, you know, let's apply that and let's see how many folks fit into that. And it's not just women, it's also trans men. There are so many trans men that you would see and be out and about and not know, and they are men. You tell someone be a man, well, they are. So it's like, you know, gender, that's gender. We can talk about sex differently, and that's where she got caught up. She's confusing sex and gender.
Well, okay. And I'm sure there will be more to say about that, but thank you for having this conversation and us sharing about that, because there are a lot of people out there that probably feel like Macy Gray, and I just think that it's time to start talking about that a little bit more. So I'm sure we will on the show, but
you know we will, because I will.
We will.